Hi everyone, my name is Chris Martin. Welcome to Keto with me. It is day 26 on my journey back into keto. New to my channel, check out my day 0 video where I cover the reasons of why I created this video series. Okay, let's check out the clip. Okay, let's talk about day 26 and how it went. It's definitely a doozy. As you probably saw from the video, there were some, I know I say this sometimes, but interesting things that occurred. Yesterday was my last day of traveling. As you can see, I'm back home now, so I'm really tickled about that. Yeah, it's hard not to talk about being on day 27 right now. I really would like to be like, oh, I'm so happy to be on day 27 because I'm back home. But it's really all about day 26 right now. So looking at my carbs for yesterday, 15 carbs for yesterday. That's, really good. My blood glucose is, back down to, because it hit 99 yesterday or the day before. Now it's, trending back down to 92. And my ketones are 2.2, so they're back up. So my weight did change. I'm 216.3, so the weight that I had either held or put on when I was there traveling is now back off, plus looks like 0.2 more. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head, but so that's good, going back down. Since I've been home, even on day 27, things are actually a lot better. I don't feel as puffy. Things are moving, intestinally. Woo! We'll talk about that tomorrow. My macros are, my fat yesterday was 71%. My carbs were 15%, and my protein was 15%. So, still not, I need the protein to be, I actually need the carbs to be a little lower out of this, but we're going to talk about, why that was. So, yesterday was a travel day, was like half to 3/4 day, 2/3 day there, away. And then, getting to the airport and kind of waiting for the plane, which, happens. Plane got delayed. And then, I was waiting to eat, towards the evening anyway, just because, should I say late afternoon, but by the time we got to the airport and got to our terminal, then had to switch to the other side of the terminal. And the opportunities in the airport were very limited, even though it was a really large airport. And I wasn't going to succumb to, just eating a bunch of carbs for the sake of eating carbs. So, but I also didn't want to turn it into my first 48-hour fast. I thought it would be kind of ridiculous to go from 20s to 48. So I definitely, I was like, I got to have something. So I ended up finding some more pistachios at the airport. So I got the pistachios, sat down, started eating them, and I just happened to flip the bag over and I'm looking at it and it says sunflower oil. And I'm like, ah. So that's where the fat came from, which I guess that is good. But as we were talking about the other day about, these seed type oils that, they're not necessarily good for you. And this is one of them. But, what can I do? It's, it's what happened. I ate it, and then went right back to fasting, and I'm still fasting as of right now. I even did it without Fasty here. So I guess he was there with me in spirit. So, but, in the last 40 hours or less, you know, 42 hours or whatever, I've only had that bag of pistachios. So I'm pleased that I was able to do that, but most of it was like a semi-forced fast because, you know, just being delayed and then delayed again and then getting back home, and we didn't get actually in the house, you know, until just after 1 a.m. So a really long after, or should I say evening, night. So nonetheless, back home, feeling great, you know, already, you know, drinking plenty of water, already added the mineral salt back into my water. One thing I did, I think that helped me while I was gone is that I maintained my time zone, because I knew we were only going to be gone like 2.5, 3 days. So I got up when I normally got up, you know, even if it said, you know, 8 o'clock, or sorry, yeah, 8 o'clock their time, or, you know, whatever. I got up when I would normally get up. I, you know, went to bed when I would normally go to bed, you know, and I tried to eat when I normally would eat. There was just like, I think one day I kind of ate a little bit earlier than I wanted to eat. So I feel like, you know, if I, you know, do this again, I would plan a little bit better. I probably would have planned to take, you know, something that I could have had on the plane. I really underestimated, you know, that aspect of it. And I underestimated, you know, when we got there, you know, I think I mentioned before on the previous day that, you know, we're used to, like, if we go somewhere to stay, we'll get it with a kitchen or a kitchenette or something like that and cook at least half of the time. So this was just a very short trip. You know, I managed, I'm back on track, you know, things are going good, and just thankful to be home. So that's it for the, you know, day 26 recap. Let's talk about my goals. All right, let's talk about my day 26 goals and week 4 and, you know, my pit of success. You know, again, this was my last travel day. Things got really interesting. Interesting though, my sleep was really good these last few days, 7.5 today. So I bumped it up to, and 0 up. I bumped it up to the best category. So that improved in all the chaos that ensued with, you know, traveling. So eating keto, you know, as far as fasting goes, I fasted 22 hours and then had that, you know, bag of, you know, pistachios. So that was, I mean, technically I'm doing kind of a long fast, but again, I really didn't want to go and try to do, you know, 1 meal a day or, you know, that quite yet. It just, things kind of happen that way. And so this kind of, you know, just the whole thing that happened with the airport just forced me to do it. So, so I ended up, you know, hitting beast mode on that one. That was pretty easy to do given the circumstances. So I don't know if I'm transitioning to 1 meal a day this quick yet, but we'll see. Style, I just kept it down at okay and for dirty clean, just because of, you know, eating, you know, some of the, you know, those processed nuts and stuff, and some of the things that I ate that I couldn't tell, you know, over the, you know, the last few days and stuff. So back home, back on track, and going to see some, you know, much better food choices and types of foods. Macros, only had 15 carbs yesterday. All of it came from that single snack. You know, the macro percents were a little bit off, but still geared more towards the fat, even though it was a bad fat like sunflower oil. So I you know, put myself down to, you know, the better category, which is, you know, just less than 20, but not really, I didn't really hit the fats that I wanted and the good fats that I wanted. So moving on to learning, you know, I got my time in watching a video and recommending it for you guys today. So hopefully you'll like the one I recommend today. We could talk about it, you know, a cool new topic. Tracking, got my tracking here. Never wavered on this. I, you know, tracked everything, chronometer, whole 9 yards. I did that very well, so I was very pleased with, you know, maintaining that. So I kept myself up in beast mode for that. Meditation, I only got 1 meditation in yesterday. You know, you'd think being at the airport, I would have been just like being able to, you know, just chill and relax. It just was too chaotic. So I just kept myself at good from the previous day on that. I didn't really bump up or down. Exercise, still non-existent. Lots of walking over the last few days, but not doing anything formal yet. That's it for my goals. Let's talk about the video recommendation. All right, let's talk about day 26 video recommendation. I'm gonna be right up front honest with you. This is probably not gonna be as insightful as I normally would have. I'm actually having a little bit of trouble remembering everything from the video that I watched, simply because I was at the airport. It was noisy. My one, earbud wasn't syncing, so I had to kind of like cover one ear, and how just chaotic that is. But I think I got enough details that I wrote down that we should be able to survive. Plus, I was really dehydrated, those last couple days, and you would think I would just naturally go get water, but I just kept forgetting or too busy doing this, or we were walking here or walking there and so forth. So I'm so thankful to be back and getting caught back up. So the video is is a video by Thomas DeLauer. We've looked at one or two of his videos before. It's about 12 minutes and 18 seconds long. The topic has to do with GKI, which is the glucose ketone index. The title of the video is actually How to Use GKI to Enhance a Keto Diet. Glucose ketone index explained. So it's long title on that. But in short, well, let me just say, I never ever researched GKI, and actually until I sat down to do it for this. And the reason is that you guys know I like to do a lot of things that Dr. Boz talks about. Well, she created her own formula called the Dr. Boz ratio, and it is a simpler formula to calculate. And then she has a scale, which we're going to look at that and kind of compare. But what Thomas does is he first goes through and talks about the reasons of what happens to your ketones throughout the day and what happens to your glucose throughout the day, and that looking at just one isn't a good indicator, that you need to look at both, and having a ratio will give you a better idea of what your metabolism is doing. So it's same concept, same underlying effect as Dr. Boz ratio. It has to do with your metabolism and how well you're doing and where you are at in the state of ketosis. Are you down enough to be losing weight? Are you down enough to hit this thing called autophagy, which we'll discuss at some other point? What is it that where are you at in it? And just because you're not super low in it doesn't mean, low is always better in both of these, by the way, doesn't mean that you're not doing well. We looked at the nutritional ketosis slide that I shared yesterday, and that gives you an idea where you set in there. But how does that, how is in relation to your glucose, does that, how is that? That's what you got to look at. So still a little scatterbrained from the whole trip. So he brought up some cool studies that he referred to, specifically brain cancer studies, and how getting those ketones, getting your body have higher amount of ketones and low sugar, they showed the tumors shrink, and then as soon as they come back off of the ketones and go back into glucose, the tumors came back. I mean, it went to undetectable to detectable again. So I think that's fascinating. I always like it when they can refer to something that you can go and check out and oh wow, that's slick. So I've never used the GKI. I've always used Dr. Boz's formula. Both of them are great indicators. I forgot to bring it with me down here, but my little tracking meter, actually I use a forward tracking meter, and it has both the GKI and supports the Dr. Boz ratio. The one thing, I'm not picking on Thomas at all, but every one of his videos has an ad placement at it, so he's really plugging the Keto Mojo thing, which is actually a great meter as well. So I know because I used it for I think 6 months or a year, and I don't remember what it was, but when I didn't stop using because it was bad. I stopped using it because I dropped it. It stopped working. So then I was like, well, I'll try out this one. Dr. Boz really plugs the forum meter. So anyway, he's promoting that, but he goes into the details, and then towards the end he actually gives you the formula. So the formula actually is your blood glucose divided by 18. All right. Now you have to put parentheses around that and divide that result by the ketones, and lower the number the better. So I don't have a scale for it, but if you're between 1 and 3, that's good. If you're less than 1, that's really good. So we'll look at Dr. Boz's for comparison, but go check out his video. Let me know what you think of it, and hopefully it gives you some additional details on how these two. That's why you see me always taking these two numbers, You know, so that is something that normally beginners don't do until they get like to a point, and then they start doing that. You know, like Dr. Boz says on her timeline that, yeah, you can use, you know, ketone strips, you know, then at some point, you know, right around here, you need to start, you know, maybe checking things out to see what you can do better. I had that experience, so I brought that a little sooner than you probably would normally do it. So that's it for today's video recommendation. That's it for day 26, folks. Thanks for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe so you can keto with me. If you got any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Just remember, nobody's perfect. Be a coach, not a critic, and take care.